Hi, welcome to SBRtv. This is the MLB Auto-Fade list show for the week of August 11th. The list has gotten off to a very profitable start in the first few weeks, so a ton of thanks to Indian Cowboy and Robert Ferringo of Doc Sports for their valuable input in getting the list going for the first few weeks. This week, our guest will be professional handicapper and SBR contributor Bob Harvey, who did a lot of our football preview shows last year and definitely held his own, giving winners and profitable advice, along with Dr. Bob and the other handicapping big guns who were on those shows with us. So thanks, Bob, for being on the Auto-Fade list show.
Peter, my pleasure. It's good to see you again.
Yes, great to see you. I can do a pretty decent impression of you. Do you mind if while we're doing the show, if I just go in and out of my impression of you? Will that offend you? Or
no.
That's okay?
It'll be fun. Go
okay?
right ahead.
All right, okay. The list right now stands at 29 and 15 plus 8.4 units with an average line of minus 147. So that's pretty good.
That's awesome.
So yes, we got to keep it going. Now, over this past week, we had a bunch of teams that were that I put on the list that were bad teams that I faded on the road that were I thought would be very profitable, and they were to start. But then last week they sort of broke about even. We didn't lose money on them too much. We might have lost about a unit or so. And let's get into them right now. The first one is Houston on the road. Now, I thought Houston was a great fade when they were absolutely terrible for most of the year, especially on the road, and they were. But what happened was they sort of liquidated all of their, reasonable players, and they brought all their young guys up from the minor leagues. And those guys are all, they're very hungry. They're pretty talented, and Houston's going to be, a very big dog for the rest of the way. I feel like taking Houston off of the list, fading Houston on the road. What do you think?
Well, here's why I say we still fade Houston. They're playing in a division where two teams realistically have a chance to win. That would be the Brewers and the Cardinals. So Houston is heavy on their schedule with the Brewers and Cardinals. Also, Houston is still going to play Philadelphia. I think they're still going to play Atlanta. And those teams are all just, they're right in the mix for either a division title or a wild card shot. So I think they give it their best gun. I don't know if Houston is up to being, in the spoiler role. I'd keep them on the list.
I don't know what to do. Let's just take them off for this 1 week and see how these youngsters do. Because it's so uncertain. Okay. You know what I mean? Because the main reason is because there's too much uncertainty. We don't know how these guys are going to do, and we don't quite know where their lines are going to settle. Kansas City on the road. Now, what do you think? Now, Kansas City is terrible. They just got swept by 4 games by Tampa Bay, and you saw this last game. I bet them in a bunch of games. I bet Tampa Bay in a bunch of those games, even though they were a big favorite. And you saw this last game. I mean, Kansas City, the one game they had a chance to win, they were up 7-3 in the ninth, and Soraya came in and gave up 5 runs. I see Kansas City as having so many negatives. Yes, they're going to be a huge underdog on the road a lot of the time, but I would be very surprised if they came out, positive money with what they're putting on the field. What do you think about that?
Well, I like that. That's good. You made a lot of good points for the Royals. And if you look at the stats, Royals have one of the worst bullpens, if not the worst bullpen in baseball. Another automatic fade team, I think at this juncture in the season, should be the Padres. I know they went in and played the Mets and played them tough, suffered a couple of heartbreaking losses there.
Right. Well, San Diego was.
As far as another automatic fade team, also on the West Coast, you got to go the Seattle Mariners, I think.
Right. Well, Seattle was already a fade team on the road, and I do think we should keep them there for now. And San Diego is also a fade team at home. Another team that's on the list is Colorado at home. What do you think about that?
Colorado at home, they play much better at home than they do on the road, but that's another team that's had a real disappointing season. Carlos Gonzalez just came off the disabled list, and so I think the Rockies, you could put on both sides, home and away. I would prefer the Rockies as a big fade when they're playing on the road.
All right. Well, Indian Cowboy suggested, he agreed with you, but he suggested San Diego and Colorado at home as fades, and they've definitely paid off so far. So I think we're going to keep San Diego and Colorado home as fades. We're going to take Houston off the road off as a fade. Keep Seattle on the road as a fade. We'll keep Oakland on the road as a fade for now. And what team would you like to add?
The Cincinnati Reds have been real disappointing, and if I were to nudge them onto the list, it would be Cincinnati on the road.
Why on the road?
Again, they had a chance going in. A lot of people thought they might even win the division again, but it's not going to happen. They've got some guys hurt. Maybe I'll even change that. I'll put Cincinnati at home on the list as an automatic fade, and maybe not on the road where they seem to play better.
Okay, and I'll give them to you, Cincinnati at home. Moving on to pitchers, the only pitcher who's made it so far has been Randy Wells. The only pitcher who's left is Randy Wells. We had 6 pitchers on the list, and all the pitchers who were on the list got either sent to the minors or sent to the disabled list, which I see as a good sign. Randy Wells is on the list. Indian Cowboy suggested him. I think we're going to keep him. And one guy we got to put back on the list, Jojo Reyes, probably one of the ultimate auto fades of all time. Jojo Reyes was suggested by Robert Ferringo. He was initially on the list, paid dividends. We took him off because he got sent down to the minors, but he's recently been brought up by Baltimore. You know, I'm not going to go into how much Reyes sucks, but when Ferringo suggested him, the one thing that gave me pause was that Toronto has such a good lineup that they'd be able to bail him out in a lot of games, and he'd be a big underdog anyway, so I didn't feel totally comfortable with him as an auto fade on Toronto, even though he paid great dividends for this list. Now he's on Baltimore. I think that's a no-brainer. Jojo Reyes.
Well, I got two of them that to me are no-brainers. I'll start first with a guy that you like, Chad Billingsley. Let me tell you the thing with Billingsley that he's done over the years. This guy will have Cy Young, no-hit stuff for 4 or 5 innings, and then the next inning after that, the guy gets lit up. And I don't know if it's because he loses focus, and it usually happens after he's been given a lead. Chad Billingsley, to me, you usually get him at a pretty good price if you're fading. True. Here's another one that comes to mind, and I'm going to put him on my fade list. Is John Lackey of the Red Sox. Yeah, I know he's won 5 straight. I know that he beat the Yankees, but this guy's got an ERA in the high 5s or maybe even the 6s, and the only reason he wins is because Boston hits.
Right.
There's a number of guys that have these humongous ERAs, like Lackey, who win because their team hits. Kuroda is another guy, possibly to fade, because of the reason the Dodgers never score when he's on the mound.
Okay, first of all, Jojo Reyes is on the list, right? You approve of that?
Oh, yeah, has to be.
Yeah, has to be. Listen, Chad Billingsley, all right, you make great points. Billingsley, yes, he's often a disappointing pitcher, and he always comes with a big favorite line when he pitches.
Jack.
But, he's a problematic starter, of course. Is he auto-fade material? I say no way. He can easily get into a good groove and start giving, 7 shutout innings over and over again. I can't give you Billingsley. Lackey was a great auto-fade early in the year when he was absolutely, stinking up the joint. But he's gotten a little bit better, and like you said, Boston is an ultimate bailout team. They do tend to pull things out, even as a big favorite. Can't give you that. Kuroda, I mean, come on, man, the auto-fade. You see the difference between
auto-fade Kuroda, because here's the thing. When he's on the mound, the Dodgers either don't score or they get a run or maybe 2. And you're talking about a pitcher now that's got an ERA of around 3.16, 3.20, and I know it's ludicrous to even consider putting him on the list, but I'm telling you, you'll make some money if you at least consider putting Kuroda on that list, because he gets no support. I mean, absolutely no support. And on top of that, his track record in the month of September hasn't been good in the past.
Bob, you've made a lot of good points, and I'm going to agree with you on Hiroki Kuroda. Right. I'm going to give you Hiroki Kuroda. Now, I do have to make one caveat. If this list were down or even, I would probably not. I would probably be much more of a hardliner. But we're flush with units here. So putting a starter on, I'm gonna give you Hiroki Kuroda. You've made a lot of good points, and
yes,
he goes on the list. All right, I think we've got a great updated list. Thanks so much for being on the show this week, Bob Harvey.
Peter, my pleasure. Thank you so much.